Bulelani, thank you so much. Of course, we are all waiting with our bated breath. This has been delay after delay, but we are promised that this report will be released to the president this afternoon. We were told at 4 o'clock. The president has since apologized. But what are you hearing from political parties as they await this fifth and final report?
Well, good afternoon to you, Unati, and to the viewers at home. I'm going to bring in DA leader John Steenhuisen in a moment. But of course, as you've said in your intro, we've been seeing these delays from the commission itself in terms of releasing this final report on the State Capture Commission of Inquiry. Whether what these delays means, it's anything that we can't say at the moment up until the official word is given when the two leaders, the president of the country, President Cyril Ramaphosa, as well as the chairperson of the commission, Justice Raymond Zondo, when they present that report in a short while. As I said, I'm going to bring in John Steenhuisen into this conversation. John, we've been waiting for this final report for a couple of days now, and again, the promise that it will be delivered at 4 o'clock. It's not coming. It's been delayed. What should we read from these delays?
Well, I think it's a completely unsatisfactory set of circumstances. When we were consulted as the opposition, whether we would object to the Commission extending the life of the Commission to finish the report, we said we have no objection, and the backstop date of last week, Wednesday, was given. We've been waiting now for this report for over a week. We were told it was going to come on Monday. It didn't come. We were told 4 o'clock today. It's now come and gone 4 o'clock. And I think it casts the whole situation in a very poor light. I think that deadline should be adhered to and kept to, because it helps to promote the credibility of the process. As you know, I've already felt it inappropriate that the President and Judge Zondo were conferring, according to the President's spokesperson, on the timing of the report being released. And I think that it's inappropriate for the President to be receiving particularly this volume of the report. I think somebody from the President's office should have received it, given the fact that this report is going to traverse large parts of the President's own testimony, the President's role as the chairperson of the Cadre Deployment Committee, and also the role of the ANC, the party of which he is the president of, in the state capture project. And so I would think it would have been better to have a little bit of distance between the President and this particular report. Nonetheless, we await it anxiously, and we hope it's going to make the findings that we believe are necessary for us to start ending state capture in South Africa.
Officially, the Commission said on Monday that the release of the report was delayed because it wanted to ensure that it releases a quality report that would not have any errors. Is that explanation acceptable?
I don't buy it. You got an extension precisely for that reason. That's why the Commission went to court. It's why we were consulted as a political party about what we would think about another extension, and we granted the extension precisely for that. I'm sorry, but when deadlines are given by the court, those deadlines should be adhered to. And I think that it is a very, very poor show, particularly from a commission of which the Chief Justice is a part of, for that court deadline not to be respected. What message does this send to others around respecting deadlines set by the courts and the judicial system? So I sincerely hope that this is the final time we're going to see these types of delays. But I think it's really, as I said at the beginning, an entirely unsatisfactory state of affairs, because it starts to speak to the credibility of the process and the credibility of the report. It's going to create suspicion from people that there were additions, alterations being made to the report in the intervening period. And all sorts of conspiracy theories start to arise. And I don't think that is good for the Commission, I don't think it's good for the report, and I don't think it's good for the fight against state capture.
If the president by any chance is implicated in the report, as you've said earlier on, do you think he's the correct or would be the correct person to process this report and create this 4-month implementation plan?
No, I think that you can't be the accused and then determine what your sentence is going to be. That's why we've been arguing extremely hard here in Parliament for those reports to be handed over to Parliament and for Parliament to start processing them. I think it's outrageous that we're sitting months and months after the first reports were released, they're in the public domain, and Parliament has not yet started processing those reports. We're heading back into the same dereliction of duty territory as Parliament that we saw in the processing of the Public Protector's Nkandla report. And I really hope that Parliament realises, particularly in this particular volume, which no doubt is going to traverse Parliament's failures to deal with state capture effectively, that Parliament realises this is a major wake-up call and starts to amend the way it does business and starts to returning Parliament to being in a proper arena of accountability and not a toothless lapdog on the lap of the executive.
What should happen to people who are named in the reports, particularly those maybe who are serving and former members of Parliament, as well as those who serve in the executive, as well as those who are holding senior positions within state-owned companies? What should happen to those people?
Well, I think that anybody who's implicated in the report should be charged, and those charges must not take months and years to be forthcoming, as we saw with the arms deal inquiry. Those charges must be laid immediately, and Parliament must start processing those. I think it's going to be very difficult for the President to argue to the nation that he is cleaning up and cleaning out the rot left behind by his predecessor when he himself is under the Phala Phala cloud and where key members of his cabinet are implicated in state capture. How do you clean up and clean out when the very architects of the process are still sitting around the table of your cabinet, still sitting in your NEC, and are still occupying important positions in state-owned entities and other government organs of state?
The latest allegations against the president, in your view, do you see them as a political attack against him, given that he will have to, or is being seen as a person who can contest the ANC's elective conference in December?
Undoubtedly, it's without a doubt a political attack on the president, but that should not discount the serious nature of the allegations. The fact that it's been kept in abeyance for 2 years and by Mr. Fraser and others is very clearly, carefully timed to do that. But that doesn't mean we should just chuck the allegations out because they happen to have been made by Mr. Fraser. There appears to have been now independent corroboration of large parts of that particular affidavit, with the Namibian police confirming that suspects were apprehended, with the fact that suspects were paying for dollars for vehicles here in South Africa and properties, etc. That, in fact, it said that they met with their counterparts from the South African VIP protection services. So large parts of those affidavits have been corroborated. I still don't understand why the president's staying silent on this matter. It's not the behavior of someone who's innocent and has nothing to hide. It's deeply suspicious, and the longer he stays silent, I think the longer these allegations and the damage to both the office of the presidency and the credibility of the presidency, as well as our international image abroad towards investors, is going to be damaged.
Lastly, the role of Parliament has been put to question before the State Capture Commission. Are you hopeful that the recommendations that will be made by the Commission will be put into effect by Parliament, as well as the action plan that must be coming from the President?
Well, I would hope so, and I hope it's going to be the catalytic moment. Although we've been in this movie before, we had the Corder report, we've had several other reports into how we can give Parliament its teeth back and how Parliament can be properly used as an arena of accountability. It's been ignored by the powers that be at Parliament, because having an active oversight in a robust Parliament is not in the best interests of the executive. They want Parliament to be an easy ride for them. They want it to be a rubber stamp of their ambitions and their goals. And I hope that we're going to be able to use this report to really give Parliament its teeth back. As I said, it's become the lapdog of the executive, and that is part of the problem. I don't think that if we had had a functioning, effective Parliament, that we would have needed a Zondo Commission in the first place, because Parliament should have been uncovering all these things through its inquiry processes. Had the committees been functioning properly, had the presiding officers not been protecting the executive and the president from robust oversight, and had there been proper unscripted oral questions. Ministers were forced to answer the questions that are put to them. Instead, we've seen quite the opposite. The executive being wrapped in cotton wool by the presiding officers and protected from that oversight. I hope this is going to signal a new era.
Let me sneak in this one, John. Lastly, the roadmap that has been put forward by the Speaker when she tabled her budget vote in Parliament in terms of how she intends, or Parliament intends, to process all these reports, in terms of referring people to the Joint Ethics Committee, to the Rules Committee, as well as invoking the Powers and Privileges Act. Is that satisfying the official opposition?
No, because I think what we need to do is, first of all, have potentially an ad hoc committee or two ad hoc committees that can be sitting full time to process these reports and to look through them. It's outrageous that Parliament is now empty. It's in recess at a time when the country needs it the most, a time when the President should be standing in the House answering questions, a time when those people involved in state capture should be being hauled before committees. Just today we heard that the Justice and Correctional Services Portfolio Committee is not going to come together to discuss the case files saga at the Chief Justice's office, or to be able to hold the Justice Minister accountable for what his Namibian counterparts have said was a letter that was sent to the Justice Department that wasn't answered. I think that Parliament should be working now. It shouldn't be in recess. Now is the time for us to take those reports, form ad hoc committees, and get cracking with the people's business and insulate this Parliament, our state and its institutions and all organs of state from state capture ever being allowed to happen again.
All right, thank you so much, John Steenhuisen, the leader of the official opposition, the Democratic Alliance. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of talking points on the political front, but for now, Unathi, it's back to you guys in studio.
Bulelani Phillip, thank you so much for that. Bulelani Phillip having an extensive conversation there with the DA's leader, John Steenhuisen, obviously saying that these delays are unsatisfactory, saying that not good for the fight against state capture and corruption.